Hello everyone, welcome to Artist Archetype, and today we're going to be continuing the Archetype series by discussing the ISFP. And the archetype that I chose to go along with the ISFP personality type is the artist. And I feel like this one's a kind of clear example of how some of the archetypes can be really easy to see, because in my opinion, a lot of the ISFPs that are notable in the world tend to be artists. They tend to be people who are producers of things that they enjoy in terms of art or music, things of that nature. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's get into it. So let's first go over the cognitive functions of the ISFP. They lead with dominant introverted feeling, they have secondary extroverted sensing, tertiary introverted intuition, and repressed extroverted thinking. So what does this mean for the ISFP? Well, it means as a type with dominant introverted feeling, they're going to have a very strong sense of self and identity. And this is kind of the function that's most associated with the idea of identity, in my opinion, is introverted feeling. People with strong introverted feeling have a very strong sense of who they are and what they value as people in terms of morals and values. But they also have a strong sense of what they're interested in, and they tend to not be afraid to wear these interests on their sleeves. And this all boils down to the core concept and value of introverted feeling, which is authenticity. People with strong introverted feeling, usually in the top two functions in their function stack, but even tertiary introverted feeling as well, can have a strong desire to express themselves as authentically as possible. It's extremely important for them to express who they are as actually who they are. And this isn't to say that extroverted feeling types are inauthentic, but more so that introverted feeling types value this authenticity more than anything else, especially the dominant introverted feeling types like the ISFP. It's this very same authenticity that comes from introverted feeling that creates the artist archetype when it becomes paired with their secondary extroverted sensing. This secondary extroverted sensing is a means for the introverted feeling dominant ISFP to express their authenticity, to express who they are. So they express who they are and the things they value by kind of creating in the actual world or interacting with the actual world. But they're also going to find out who they are by interacting with the outside world. They're not going to be the types who are going to mull over abstract concepts and ideas related to things they're interested in, like you might see with the INFP. The ISFP instead is going to go out and directly engage with the things they're interested in and also produce things that are related to what they are interested in terms of art or anything in the creative realm. If we look at famous musicians and artists throughout history, we can see that a lot of them have the characteristics of the ISFP personality type, and they might even be ISFPs. At the very least, they portray the characteristics of the artist archetype. So a lot of the people that I'm about to discuss might not be exactly ISFPs, and it's hard for me to type celebrities perfectly, but I think that these people kind of portray the values of the ISFP personality type. And for example, the first person I'm going to discuss is Marilyn Monroe, and she could very well be an ESFP as well, but she's certainly SEFI, at least most people would agree with that. And in my opinion, Marilyn Monroe is someone who's a great example of an SFP because she's someone who's extremely authentic to herself, and a lot of the things that she produced came from that inner authenticity. They came from that introverted feeling function. So this next person I'm going to discuss might not be an ISFP, but a lot of people tend to think he is, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. And that's Michael Jackson. And if you look at Michael Jackson's work, you can see just how introverted feeling heavy I think his music is. He's so authentic to himself, and I think that's why he had such a huge impact on the world, is he was just 100% himself and unique. And I think that that's one of the greatest strengths of the ISFP personality type. What's interesting to me especially is if you look at Michael Jackson's early work compared to some of his later work, his early work was less so about providing a message. It was more so just about the artistic side of things, the sensory side of things, how music sounded. And as he got older and matured and developed that tertiary introverted intuition, which if he is an ISFP, that's what it would be, as he developed that lower side intuition, he started to sing more and more about the meaning behind the things that he valued. And I think that that's where you can really see the development of the ISFP, is when they start to really blend the real world with the meaning of the things that they're interested in. One of the most interesting things about ISFPs to me is how expressive they can be about the things that they're interested in despite being introverts. If you look at the people we just discussed, they performed on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. But then if you look at how that relates to someone, you might not think they would be an introvert. You're likely to say they might be an extrovert. But the difference is that the ISFPs are interested first and foremost with the authentic expression. Where if you look at the ESFPs, on the other hand, who have dominant extroverted sensing and secondary introverted feeling, they care more about the actual act of performing, getting on stage, interacting with the crowd, things of that nature. Where the ISFP is there to authentically express themselves and their message, whatever it is that they want to express to the crowd, so they can show who they are as an individual. So now I want to talk about repressed extroverted thinking in the ISFP and how that relates to the artist archetype. Repressed extroverted thinking in the ISFP is going to lead them to sometimes not have a long-lasting conscientiousness towards things that they are interested in. They can have these intense short bursts of being hyper-focused or interested in whatever it is that they're interested in, but that can die down very quickly. And you're going to see that they're going to struggle with allowing their conscientiousness to unfold over time. They're going to struggle with scheduling things out for more than just a day or two at a time. They're going to be hyper-focused on one thing, and if it's something that they're really interested in, if it's something that their FI is really attached to, they're going to be all in on these things, but they might be sadly going to ignore the rest of their life or things that need to be done to maintain their life. And you can find that this is going to be a problem for a lot of ISFPs. But again, ISFPs as extroverted perceiving types might be willing and okay to live this kind of open and free lifestyle. Now, extroverted judging types might struggle with this. They're going to struggle with not having things organized or planned as they should be, but ISFPs as extroverted perceiving types could be completely comfortable with this. I think that this can easily be seen if you look at the phrase starving artist and what that archetype means in relation to just the archetype of the artist as well. The starving artist is someone who is unwilling to kind of live how most people need to live to get by in the world because they're so focused on producing their own art or doing what they want to do in life. And this can be a problem for the introverted feeling types. If they're not willing to adapt to the environment that they're in, they may struggle to live in that environment. And that's going to be the real struggle with that absolute need for inner authenticity. So that's why it's really important, in my opinion, for introverted feeling types to find a place where they can fit in and be productive, where they can be productive towards things that they're interested in. Because if they're putting themselves in the wrong environment, then their productivity is going to fall very low, and I don't feel like they're going to be able to get by as well as they could. All right, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this discussion on the ISFP personality type and how it relates to the artist archetype. In my opinion, ISFPs can be some of the most interesting people in all of history. They can be so authentically themselves and so expressive of that they can really make a change on the world. And if someone like Michael Jackson truly is an ISFP, he's a perfect example of how the ISFPs can truly change the world. I would like to remind everybody that I do have personality typing sessions available on my website at asurasype.com if you're interested in finding out what your personality type is and what that means for you. This has been Asura from Asura Sype. Have a good one.